Dakar, a heaving metropolis of 13 million people, most of whom weren't surprised when their city recently received the dubious honor of being named as the second worst city on the planet. The survey, conducted by the Economist Intelligence Unit, a business information arm of The Economist magazine, put the Bangladeshi capital just ahead of Harare in Zimbabwe. Researchers found Dakar scored below average marks in 5 broad categories that people most care about: stability, healthcare, culture and environment, education and infrastructure. Even in the lush countryside, life in this land of over 160 million people is hard for many. It's the most densely populated large country on Earth, and a staggering 80% of its people live on an income of less than $2 a day. Despite a drift to urban areas, the vast majority of people earn their living on the land. And it's here where small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, are starting to have an impact. This Information Technology Centre, set up by an entrepreneur using an SME bank loan, is proving to be a runaway hit with the farmers from the surrounding district. The shop is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where once farmers would have had to travel to the nearest town for things like pictures for driving licenses, for permits, or even just to fill in forms beloved of all bureaucracies, they can now do it all from here. It even saves them time and money in their day-to-day work.
When a farmer is having a problem, he needs any information on input, like seed or fertilizer or pesticide, he goes to this center now. They don't need to go other locations. And before that, they have to go to the retailers or the fertilizer distributors. Sometimes those are problems, you know. Sometimes they offer the biased information. But this center, they are not biased to anybody. They are offering the service that really help the farmers. So we do see that these centers are becoming more beneficial to the community.
It's a medium-sized enterprise that's also spawning small businesses under a franchise model, with some 3,000 shops now operating throughout the country, 500 of which are individually owned by entrepreneurs who've taken advantage of SME bank loans. Initiatives like this are at the heart of the World Islamic Economic Forum, WIEF. Bangladesh is the most densely populated large country in the world. Nearly 160 million people in an area only slightly larger than Greece. The country is no stranger to disaster. In 1944, it suffered one of the worst famines of the 20th century when between 2 to 3 million people died. It's constantly plagued by flooding, and in 1991 was devastated by one of the worst cyclones in history, in which 138,000 people were killed and more than 10 million people had to flee their homes. Yet, despite all this, the country's economic output has more than doubled since 1975, and the poverty rate has fallen by 20% since the early 90s.
The successes in the various models, from Grameen to microfinance, Islamic microfinance, the NGOs, many organizations are really playing their part in helping Bangladesh get out of poverty. But really the challenges are tremendous.
The country is home to the first microfinance agency in the world, the Grameen Bank. At its core is the lending of small amounts to the poorest of the poor, without asking for collateral and charging virtually no interest. As of March this year, Grameen had over 8 million borrowers, 97% of whom are women. In many cases, people who started with a microfinance loan progress to establishing bigger businesses.
In the context of the Islamic world and the Islamic Ummah, it's the lowest level of society that needs help most. And in order to develop business sense from almost nothing, we need to start at the bottom, not at the top. This is what differs us from the rest. Our emphasis is to go for the small and medium industries. Give them the exposure, give them the emphasis on starting small.
Nergis Rahonamaga lives in Charigram village, a couple of hours' drive from the capital, Dhaka. With a $57 microcredit loan from Muslim Aid, she started rearing chickens. She did so well that she took out another loan designed to help small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and started a small chicken farm.